Welcome to Today's Tomorrow. This is the show where we break down the big ideas shaping our world. And today, we're diving into a technology that could totally change how we deal with one of medicine's biggest challenges, cancer.
So when you think about it, how do we find cancer early? Well, for decades, our best bet has been screening, right? The whole idea is to catch it early when it's most treatable. But the thing is, this strategy has a huge blind spot. Just think about the cancer screenings we have right now. We've got pretty good tests for breast, cervical, and colorectal cancers, plus a couple of others. But that's it. It's only 5 types of cancer. It's kind of like trying to find a problem in a massive house, but you're only allowed to look in 5 of the rooms.
Sure, those screenings cover some of the most common cancers, but what about the rest? What about all those other cancers that just creep up on you with no symptoms until it's really advanced? The ones with no screening tests whatsoever.
And here's the reality, and it is a stark one. Almost 70%, 70, of all cancer deaths come from cancers that have no recommended screening test. That's what the experts call the screening gap. It's this huge, deadly blind spot, but it's one that a whole new generation of tech is trying to fix.
Okay, so how do we close that gap? Well, that brings us to this really revolutionary new idea called multi-cancer early detection, or MCDE for short. And the test that's leading the charge here is a single blood test called Galleri.
So what is it? It's a single blood test, and it's designed to work with our existing screenings, not replace them. Think of it like adding a powerful new layer of security to our overall health.
But wait a second. How can one single test possibly look for so many different types of cancer all at once? It sounds kind of like science fiction, right? Well, the answer is actually floating around inside all of us, right in our blood.
Okay, get this. Every single cell in your body, healthy ones and, yep, cancer cells too, is constantly shedding these tiny little fragments of DNA into your bloodstream. It's called cell-free DNA, or cfDNA. But here's the cool part. The DNA from cancer cells is different. It has these unique chemical tags on it, a thing called methylation, that acts just like a fingerprint. And that fingerprint is what lets us tell it apart from the DNA from all your healthy cells.
So the whole process is this incredible mix of biology and some serious computing power. It all starts with something super simple, a blood draw, and it ends with this really sophisticated analysis that's hunting for those cancer fingerprints. And get this, it can even predict where in the body that signal might be coming from. Just amazing.
The real beauty of this whole thing is how simple it is for the patient. A tumor, no matter where it is in the body, is kind of like a tiny little radio station, constantly broadcasting these DNA signals out into the bloodstream. And all we have to do to tune in is take a simple blood sample.
Okay, so once that blood sample gets to the lab, that's where biology really meets big data. You've got these powerful sequencing machines that are reading the DNA, searching for those specific fingerprint patterns we talked about. And then a really smart machine learning algorithm crunches all that data to answer the one critical question. Is there a cancer signal here, yes or no?
Now, an idea this big, this revolutionary, well, it needs some seriously solid proof. You can't just take it at face value. And that's exactly why this technology was put through the ringer in the largest study of its kind ever, a huge landmark trial with England's National Health Service.
To really see if this test could work out in the real world for a whole population, England's NHS teamed up with a company that developed the test, Grail, and they studied it in over 142,000 people. Think about that number. That is a massive, massive undertaking.
So the main goal of the trial? It was super ambitious. And if you just look at the headline, the final statistics, it wasn't officially met. But, and this is a big but, that's not the whole story. When you really dig into the details, you find something incredibly promising.
Look, to really get why these results are so exciting, you have to understand the huge difference between early-stage and late-stage cancer. The chief investigator of the trial, Professor Charles Swanton, he said it perfectly. He said that catching cancer before it metastasizes, before it becomes stage 4, that is often the difference between a disease you can cure and one you can only manage. That's everything.
And that right there is where the trial had a major impact. When the Galleri test was used, fewer people were diagnosed with that deadliest, most advanced stage 4 cancer. For doctors and patients, that is a huge win.
So just how much of a difference are we talking about? Well, this chart really shows you the power of adding this tool to the mix. With the Galleri test in play, the overall cancer detection rate jumped by 4 times. Let me say that again, a 4-fold improvement. Put simply, they just found more cancers. Period.
Now, this is absolutely crucial. Finding more cancers is great, but not if it means you're getting a ton of false alarms, right? You know, a false positive, where the test says you have cancer, but you actually don't. The Galleri test kept that rate incredibly low, less than 1%. And that's so important because it means the test is really reliable at telling people who don't have cancer that they're okay, which avoids so much unnecessary stress and extra procedures.
So, let's zoom out. What does all of this mean for the future of health? Well, it really signals a potential shift, like a fundamental change in how we even think about staying healthy.
Think about it. We're moving away from a model that's mostly reactive, where, we wait until we feel sick to see a doctor. And we're moving towards something that's truly proactive, a future where we can search for a cancer signal anywhere in the body, long before we ever feel a single symptom.
And that's the bottom line. That's why this all matters so much. Finding cancer earlier, when it's easier to treat and maybe even cure, that saves lives, it reduces suffering, and it takes a huge burden off our entire healthcare system. It's a win-win-win.
Now, are we there yet? No, but for the very first time, we can actually see a clear picture of what that future might look like. A future where a simple blood test at your annual checkup could help us finally turn the tide against cancer. It's a powerful glimpse into the world of tomorrow that we're talking about today. Thanks for joining me on today's Tomorrow.